this rather snappy, won't you? I have some very heavy thinking to do before 10 o'clock.
Hey, welcome to another edition of Get It Right, Texoma, with the Texoma Trio. Mike Hendra and Terry McAdams, Trey Sorella. Thank you for joining us, whether you're getting us on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcasts or, maybe telepathy. I don't know how you're getting it.
You get it where you get it,
get it where you get it. So, and get it while you got it.
Why are we here? What do we do?
Well, we're here to talk about all things. We talk about some local events here in Texoma, that North Texas, Southern Oklahoma area, our little neck of the woods, and also things that are happening on a regional, state, or national level, or international level, or interplanetary, intercontinental, whatever, something. I don't know. Intersexual. I don't know what is that even a thing? I don't know.
Intersectional? I think that's a liberal thing, Mike.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike, is that really a thing?
Okay.
Wink, wink.
Well, intersex, is that between the sexes? Is that
that's what I would think.
I believe, look it up, I believe what intersectional is now if you're a group, this is that bullshit mentality of if you're a group, like a protected or a underserved group or whatever, where those two groups come together. Yeah.
Here we go. This is intersex, according to Wikipedia.
No, intersectional. He didn't say intersex. He said intersectional. He didn't say anything about sex. He said intersectional.
Get your head out the gutter,
Oh,
man.
no. Well, I just said intersex.
Boy, and by the way, that's the fastest I've ever found Terry find anything when it had something that sex. The problem is sex is already in his browser. He just has to put the first part in.
Whoa, wait a minute. I thought you said
real
intersex.
sex, fake sex, whatever.
Intersexual.
Intersectional.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let me look that up then. Sorry about that, guys. But
by the way, so
between the sexes.
While he's looking it up, what else is
the
here?
Study of overlapping, intersecting social identities and related systems of oppression, domination, or
Google me right.
discrimination.
Google. What did I just say?
According to Syracuse University class.
It's what I just said it was.
Yeah. So sorry.
Thank you, Merriam-Webster.
Yeah.
All right. So.
Google me right.
Going today.
So,
how did I
don't know how. Yeah.
Went off the rails.
Intersectional and sexual.
We've lost total control of the show.
Sorry about that.
It's
okay. Took us down that road. So.
Chamber's got a big event coming up.
They do.
Yes.
Yeah. The defining our culture. Speaking of cultural stuff, defining our culture coming up April the 10th and 11th. The Wichita Falls Chamber of Commerce. So. I think part of what they're trying to accomplish with all of this is they're trying to define what is the culture overall of the city of Wichita Falls, of our area, and what directions are we headed, or direction are we headed in terms of growth and development and so forth, and what do we need to do to best serve the interest of the community as a whole and things like that. Part of the chamber's job is, to some degree, it is job creation. They go out and they recruit. They try to recruit new industries to come to our city. Right. Try to bring new businesses to our city, and they're not just focused on industrial development, but business growth overall. For example, the mayor's been on the show with us recently and talked about. I think he mentioned we've got a new warehouse type operation coming.
Yeah, like a distribution center.
Distribution center. Yeah, I couldn't think of the word. And so they're not manufacturing a product, but they are distributing a product or products, plural.
What they're doing is they're creating jobs. That's the biggest thing. They're creating jobs, and not from just the permanent jobs that are there. They're also creating the jobs to build the structure, lay the concrete, the plumbing, the HVAC. The electrical and all that sort of thing. So.
Right. And they do, and they try to do it with a realistic mindset. What can we reasonably, what kind of industry or business can we bring here that we can reasonably say with confidence, yes, you can recruit 50 employees or you can recruit 100 employees. Amazon's not going to build a distribution center in Wichita Falls, Texas. Number one, we're too close to other major metro areas that already have them. Number two, you need, 3 or 4 or 5,000 employees for an operation like that. We don't have 5,000 people here to recruit. You can find 100, 150 maybe.
Yeah.
But 5,000, no.
Other than that, what you're doing is everybody's kind of pilfering from other businesses.
Pretty much.
And then you're going to run up with a
poaching,
shortage there. So
start poaching help.
yeah.
And you still see, and that happens, I mean, I don't think it happens as much as it used to.
Poaching is a strange word. Yeah. It's the same word but has two completely different meanings. You poach something like you take something that you shouldn't take or you should take necessarily, but you take something, or you cook an egg or cook something.
Poach it, yeah.
Yeah, that's weird. I mean,
I'm sure there's a history, entomology of that
yeah,
word.
that one I don't know.
I'm not big on poached eggs. I prefer mine fried and covered in salsa.
Yeah.
Maybe a little cheese too, But anyway,
salsa. But yeah.
Good salsa.
Oh, salsa, man. Which, by the way, and they're not an advertiser on this show
Yet,
but they're going to get a bill, I think. But I found a brand. My wife found a brand of salsa at Sam's, and it's called Mateo's. Mateo's. It is like most of the really good salsas I've had have been like homemade, kind of stuff. This is the best out of the jar, off the shelf salsa I have ever eaten in my life.
now where is it made?
Well,
It's not made in New York City, is it?
I don't think it's made in New York City, but it also.
I'm just curious where it's made.
Well, I will look that up.
Yeah. You remember the Pace Picante sauce commercials?
It was made in San Antonio.
folks,
There you go.
Or where was that made? New York City.
Yeah, get a rope.
Yeah. Contact us. Let's see if,
I'll say where they will.
no, they're not.
I'll say where they are. Really.
I'll
Anyhow,
find
it's
it.
a great
I'll
volume.
find it.
I'm telling you, you got to try it. You got to try it out. It's good stuff. Love it. So yeah, you guys will get a bill. We'll find your address. We'll send you a bill. Anyway, moving along here. Huskies Block Party coming up May the 25th, 11 to 7, Castaway Cove. If you'll visit the Huskies for Life reunion page on Facebook, you can find out more about that. Of course, Hershey Huskies. The Huskies is the Hershey mascot. Hershey High School, currently in the last few weeks of their existence as a high school. Starting, I guess, in August of 24, it'll be a junior high school.
Yep. And I don't know what it'll be called. It may be called Hershey Junior High. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what they're going to do on that.
Frankly, don't know why they wouldn't just stick with Hershey and keep the Huskies mascot, frankly.
And maybe they will. I just don't know.
Well, a lot of money could be saved by
Yeah.
doing
It's
that.
very possible. I don't know if the junior highs are going to just retain the mascots. I'm assuming they probably would, but I don't know.
Well,
It would be-
that's a big controversy, of course.
Oh, sure.
Well, that was
sure.
on the high school side.
Yeah,
of it,
but I mean that maintains the legacy of that. But then if the other, what's the Coyotes? No,
Yeah.
is that the Coyotes?
Wichita Falls High School
Right,
Coyotes, yeah.
right. And so they didn't maintain that one. If they didn't do the, so I don't know. Yeah, I won't get into that.
Yeah, but I do, we do expect that they're going to, certainly continue starting in the fall as a junior high school. But the Huskies Block Party, and I'm guessing this is going to kind of be for all Huskies.
Yeah, I think this is all. Yeah, this is like from the inception to the kids that just graduated or they're there now, whatever. So I think it's just open to everybody.
That'd be an interesting party.
Yeah,
Bunch of 65-year-olds and a bunch of 18-year-olds.
Yeah. At Castaway Cove. And I think that Wichita Falls High School's formed an alumni association as well.
I believe they have.
You'll start to see more of this kind of stuff coming up as the new high schools in Wichita Falls are coming online. I believe the new high schools will be available for some public tours, maybe even as early as late May for public tours. So, and if you get a chance, go check them out. I mean, look, you're spending the money on it. You might as well go look at them.
Some of my family, my mother and aunts and uncles and such all had attended Fannin Elementary School back when it was in existence.
Right.
And for many years they did that. They had their own alumni association, and the Friends of Fannin or something like that. And they had reunions yearly for many, many years, but ultimately they all died.
Well, that's what happens. People age out.
They age out and they all passed. And so now there's literally there may be a handful of people still living that actually attended Fannin when it was an elementary school, but not many. It hasn't been an elementary school in many, many years, has it?
Yeah, it was. It was an elementary school until just several years ago.
Was it really?
Yeah.
See, I thought it had gone away back in the 80s or something.
Uh-huh.
You know, so if you were in grade school, you're our age, but
Right.
I guess so. I guess you could be.
Yeah, you can still be alive, but
Still be around.
I don't think
like most of these folks that I'm talking about that I saw, because they used to drag me along to that. I was like 10 years old, so I had no choice. I got dragged kicking and screaming into it, and they were all in their 60s and 70s then.
I don't think the reunions and stuff like that happen quite as much as they used to. I don't think people are as interested in that sort
Not
of thing
as
as they were.
popular as it once
Yeah, well,
was.
think about it. First off, we're so connected right now.
Yeah, we are.
There was a time when you weren't connected very well. It was a big deal to see your friends and things like that. Now, if you want to see your friends, you can call them or FaceTime them or Facebook them or whatever you do.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, it's a much smaller world.
TikTok them.
definitely.
By the way, TikTok. Have you seen where Congress is now trying to push a bill to ban TikTok, and President Biden has said he will sign it if he gets the right bill?
Yeah, and this ban would be overall just a total ban on a national scale.
Yes.
Of TikTok.
Whoa.
Not just for federal employees or so
Right.
forth.
I believe what they've done now, and you could, Terry, fact check me on this one to make sure I'm right. I believe what they're saying is they've given TikTok two choices. You either divest from the Chinese government or we ban you type thing. So we'll see, because right now the Chinese government has control over it. And it's like we talked about and like you've said many times, if you are a Chinese-owned business, you are beholden to the Chinese government.
It's been a few years ago. Terry and we were talking about the Wichita Falls Chamber leads groups earlier before off camera, and several years ago I was in a leads group meeting, and one of our members started talking about this thing called TikTok, and I had never heard of it until she brought it up. She was a photographer, I think, and she was raving about how this was going to be the thing that would probably overtake Facebook, overtake Instagram. This was going to be the next huge social media movement, and that every business owner in the room, you got to have a TikTok. You guys need to be on TikTok. So I did a little research on it, and what I could at the time, and I signed up for an account, and I think I posted 4 or 5 real estate related videos, because I'm in the real estate business, for those of you that don't know it. And anyway, I posted like 4 or 5 videos. I never got any hits off of it. But the more I started looking at TikTok, the more I realized it's just basically, for the most part, it's a bunch of videos of a bunch of, at least what I found, just a bunch of garbage. It was just nonsense. A lot of time-wasting elements.
That's the key right there.
A lot of time-wasting
There's
elements.
a whole lot of time-wasting stuff that goes on there.
but also
Now, you can say that about any social media platform.
Well, all of them have, except for I guess Twitter, but mostly YouTube Shorts, they call it. That's short videos, and Facebook Reels and Instagram Reels. Those have basically mimicked what TikTok brought on the scene.
Yes,
and
yes.
so took a lot away. TikTok's still not. I mean, it's big, but I don't think it's taken over yet. But it's influenced a lot of kids. And the other thing that's interesting about this, that one of the criticisms is that at least in the United States, the kids get targeted with just more mind-numbing kind of stuff, as well as adults. But then in China, they're targeting kids with actually educational content.
Right.
And so so there seems to be some, why are they doing that? Well, makes you wonder whether or not it's right. I have some mixed feelings about shutting down this company if they don't divest themselves. But I want to know more about, I know the terms of service and everything you've signed, there's a lot of language in there that says we can track, everything. But a lot of the stuff that's in the TikTok user agreement is also in Facebook and
I think the biggest
and Twitter and all those.
I think their biggest bugaboo on this one is it's that the Chinese government is behind it.
Right, but what's the?
Well, I mean, okay. And look, I struggle with censorship as well, so don't get me wrong. But by the same token, do we want to allow the Chinese government to come buy farmland in America?
Well, that's true.
If they're using
no matter where it is, I mean, can an American company go to China and buy land?
I don't know. Oh, no. Okay.
No, you cannot.
Okay. So to me, I always look at things like reciprocation. Yeah. If you're going to allow us to do something, then we can allow you to do something. But vice versa, this crap about you can do whatever you want, but I can't in my country, but I can't do what you want in your country. What I want in your country doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
You can't flush a toilet in China without the Communist Party stamp of approval on it.
I imagine.
You absolutely you do anything there that runs afoul of the party structure, there will be hell to pay for it.
Yeah, there are consequences.
And well, of course, there's nothing more oppressive though in that part of the world than North Korea. In North Korea, every home has a picture of Kim Jong mentally ill hanging on the wall, and you are taught from infancy, basically. You are taught that he is your real father. He is your God. Your own biological father is not your real father. The dear leader is your real father.
It's crazy.
And you are to worship him. And kids are in school, they are told, in North Korea, they are told, because this is leaked out from people who have escaped that crap hole of a country. The kids are told in school, if you hear your parents say things, negative things about the government, about the dear leader, about whoever, excuse me, you are to report them to your teachers.
Yeah, it's your responsibility.
It's your responsibility to report that to your teacher, and the teacher will report it to the authorities, and they will go pay mom and dad a visit.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Can you imagine you live in a country that is where you literally are under the threat of imprisonment or perhaps even execution if you do not worship your leadership?
Well, once again, I think it's one of those things that we take for granted here in America that realize that there are places in the world that are still like that.
Very much so. Very much so. There's a quote from C.S. Lewis. Of all tyrannies, a tyranny sincerely exercised for the good of its victims may be the most oppressive.
That's a good quote.
Pretty powerful terms there. Pretty powerful phrase there.
By the way, did you guys see of course, the State of the Union happened.
Yeah.
And whether you first off, that was what were your thoughts? I mean, that was interesting watching Joe Biden yell. I mean, he went from who he's been all this time,
yes,
to yelling Joe Biden that night, but then he was back the next day to kind of what we've seen for a while. But that was concerning and strange and kind of weird. Yeah. But did y'all watch or did you see clips of or watch the whole thing of Katie Britt, who's an Alabama senator, do the Republican rebuttal to the State of the Union? It was hard to watch because it was so dramatic. It was some of the stuff she said was substantive, and I agree with. But she looked in the camera, and it was like she was a bad actress trying to get overact a part. Like William Shatner was trying to do his best impersonation of William Shatner. I mean, she's like, it's so important. I'm sorry. It comes off as insincere. I'm not saying Katie Britt's insincere. What I'm simply saying is that speech, while in substance was pretty good, it came off as so insincere because it was so performative.
The delivery.
Yes.
The delivery.
This is what bothers me the most right here.
Yeah, Gold Star dad Steve, is it Nikui or Nikawi? Arrested after heckling Biden at State of the Union address.
Now, I will say this though. I'm gonna say this though. He should have been removed.
Right, removed. But
I don't think. Yeah. Well, and was he actually arrested? And was he taken to jail, or was he just put in handcuffs and removed out of the deal? I will tell you this. I do not like the heckling. I don't like, was it Marjorie Taylor Greene heckling? I don't like that shit. When you're in a function like that, and it's a State of Union, and it's a formal thing, and you start heckling, they ought to get your ass out of there. And I think that they should have removed her as well. At some point, you got to have some decorum. I think that when the Democrats were heckling Trump during this State of Union, they should have been removed. So while I don't blame the guy for being upset, I think you should be removed.
Nancy Pelosi ripping up the president's State of the Union, her copy of his speech, and that little smirk on her face and that thing that she did. Talk about heckling.
Well, but that wasn't disruptive to everybody else. I don't know that I agree. That was low class on her part.
It was very low class.
Very low class. But when you start heckling from the audience and disrupting the thing, I think you ought to be taken out.
He was charged with crowding, obstructing, and incommoding. Congress.
He wasn't incommode. He was in the Congress.
Incommoding.
Well, they do a lot of. There's a lot of shit there. So maybe he was incommode.
It's a misdemeanor that typically results in the offender's released after paying a $50 fine. So.
I think he ought to have just been taken out. I don't think he should have been charged with anything. Well, I think he should have just been removal.
You got an opportunity in November to flush the toilet. I'm just going to say.
There you go.
And just a reminder about.
And Mike, I say to that.
Says that Mr. Nikowie lost his son due to Joe Biden's incompetence and lost another son to grief over his brother being killed. And so apparently...
I believe one of his kids was the one killed in the Afghanistan removal.
Right. And then the other child committed suicide. The brother committed suicide, yeah.
So that's sad and everything. But I think there are better ways to get that. I think you would have gotten... Well, he got a lot of attention for it. So
he did, but I'm going to tell you this, though, too. As much as we may not like the heckling, the optics of handcuffing and removing the father of a fallen soldier, that the optics of that are equally as bad.
Was he handcuffed in the hall? I believe he was just removed.
Well, no, I saw a video of him being arrested.
And I disagree with once again. I don't think you ought to disagree. Handcuffed, unless you're told. But here's the other side of that story. Whether you're on an airplane, whether you're in a public setting like that, if somebody with a windbreaker or a uniform and all that sort of thing comes up to you and says, you need to remove yourself from the hall, you need to do it. And if you choose not to do it, you're going to get your ass dragged out of there, and you should be, because you've been told to be removed from it.
Well, we need to, on another note related to this, I'd like to at some point have a show on auditors, the constitutional auditors that go into public buildings and whether that's what the benefits or what the downsides and all that is. But that's a whole nother topic.
Well, you have a right to be in a public space.
Yep.
You have a right
to record.
In a public
space.
You have a right. You have a right to say what you want to say, but not during a function.
Right. Well,
that's when it's during a function, I believe that you ought to be removed. And by the way, if somebody comes and tells you this is part of what happened with the January 6th crowd, the couple from Forestburg, because there's body camera footage of the police officer telling them to disperse, and they not only did not disperse, they grabbed the guy. Right. Okay, well, I'm sorry. Once you do that, you've crossed the line.
Well, what about during a school board meeting? Have you had any scuffles happen while you were on the school board?
We didn't. We had not any scuffles. We had people yell a couple times and stuff like that. Now there was a guy that I got up to go make sure that he left. Yeah. And one of my former school board or my fellow school board members thought I was going to go out there and whip his ass, and that's not what I was going to do. I was headed out to make sure he left because he got mad and he opened the door and he slammed the door. And I was watching this guy kind of in the back. And you know when you get a bad feeling about somebody that they're up to no good, and my fear was that we had several employees that were out in the hallway.
Yeah, right.
And I was going to make sure that guy didn't go out there and start abusing employees. So I got up in my suit and started to walk out, and had one of my fellow members grab my jacket and go, don't go, like that. But then the guy headed out the door, and I went and sat back down. I was not going to go out there to fight. I was not going to go out there because I was angry. I wasn't angry at all. Yeah. What I was going was in a role of protection. Right. I was going to make sure that person, whoever it was not going to cause problems out in the hallway.
Role of bouncer, because you have experience with that.
That's true. I've done that before. But so, no, every once in a while you have people yell and stuff, and that's fine, yell out, but if you're being disruptive enough to where you're causing problems, I don't mind somebody saying something, but if you're being disruptive enough to cause problems, you need to be removed.
And if you're there's one thing to being in a safe space and then literally putting people in a feeling of a threatening situation. Right. You don't, if what their behavior is threatening, and there's a line. I mean, there is a fine line about when it becomes just anger turning into a threatening situation, and that's where cops have a hard time, I think, to judge all of that. But anyway, but I'd like to have another show. Like I said, I'd like to us focus in on that, on the auditor situation, because I very much think that there are cities and towns and other government facilities that have handled that incorrectly. And sure, I'm seeing the exceptional cases, but it seems there's enough out there that I think that there in some cases could be a problem. And I wonder about our town, if anybody has ever audited Wichita Falls or Wichita County.
I do know that things will change when there's consequences, though.
Well, no.
For instance, Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin was at a function, and I don't know if it was a public function. I don't know what it was. And this guy starts yelling at him. Right. And Joe Manchin's trying to take care of business and trying to speak to a group. Mm-hmm. And this guy just keeps on and keeps on. Joe Manchin jumped up. I don't know what the guy said. Joe Manchin jumped up and squared up on the guy. Now, Joe Manchin's not a young man, but he's a pretty good-sized cat. Mm-hmm. And he looks like he was ready to go. And his security guy stepped in and said, I'll handle this. I mean, you can't hear exactly what you can see. And he grabbed that guy and slung him out the door. But that's the thing. The problem is people don't think there's consequences. It's right. Like when the protesters were screaming in these cops' faces and stuff like that. Look, I'm not against police abusing people. I've been very clear about that. But I will say, you get in somebody's face and you start spitting on them and stuff like that, you open a Pandora's box, and whatever happens to you happens to you. That's my theory on that.
You cross a line.
You cross a line. Yeah. You could stand across the room and yell at me all you want. You can whatever, but you get over here to where you're inches away, and now I don't know if you're going to do something or not. Oh, yeah. And it's the fact of the matter is, you should not, as a person, you should not have to wait till somebody attacks you if they're in an attacking position.
Right.
You should not have to wait till they start get the jump on you before you can defend yourself.
But that goes both ways. But the problem is that the police have, in many cases, there are abusive police, and vast majority are not.
In a few cases, I'm not many. You said many cases. I don't agree. I think a few cases are.
Well, I guess that's all relative. By percentage, yes, there are a few cases. Yeah. But I'm saying there are enough. There have been documented cases. I've watched them, and and most of these that I watch are the entire, from start to finish. Yeah. And sometimes these there are police officers and people in those types of positions that do abuse their authority.
That's absolutely true.
And those and it's just it's kind of like they get a sense of entitlement and forget that they work for the taxpayer. And so that's
they have to follow laws.
Yes.
Yeah, they're bound by law as well.
But they don't, and they ignore things.
Well, that's true, and then those people need to be prosecuted. And look, by the way, I'm not against if you feel like somebody's about to invade your constitutional rights. I don't care who you are.
Right.
If you think you got to fight back, you got to fight back.
Well, but at the same time, a police officer sometimes he has a gun, he has a taser, he has training that puts them in a situation where they can take you down pretty easily compared to
Joe Blow. I agree.
Right. So I'm just saying, again, I'd like, rather than covering it here, but I'd like us to explore that at some point. If
Well, when it comes to self-defense, period. My basic operating philosophy is this: I would rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6.
Right.
I am not going to allow myself to become a victim for anybody.
Right.
If I can, if my physical well-being is being threatened, and I can defend my physical well-being, I'm going to do it. If it means I got to fight dirty, I'm gonna fight dirty.
I think everybody should. I think everybody should do that. I mean, you have the right to defend yourself,
right.
And you have the right to for people
and
violating
even against your government. That's that's the principle for the Second Amendment. Not to say that we're supposed to carry it around and ready to shoot everybody. It's just that if push comes to shove and the government is doing wrong things, and I say the government, people who are representing the government in many cases, incorrectly and unconstitutionally, then it's a hard decision to make, but you do need to be going into it thoughtfully.
We don't, to my knowledge, schools don't teach it this way at all. The reason the Second Amendment was created was to give the people a defense against tyranny, whether that tyranny comes from the outside or from the inside, doesn't matter.
That's correct.
That's the reason it exists. The men who drafted our Constitution and who wrote that amendment understood what real tyranny looked like.
Yes.
They were living under it. And keep in mind, the very people that drafted our Declaration of Independence and our Constitution, had we not won the Revolutionary War, every one of those men would have been executed.
Oh, yeah. They'd been hunted down. If they could have been found.
Many were killed anyway.
Yeah. If they could have been found, they absolutely
would have been found. They would have been put to death. So just keep that in mind. We're going to break here. This is obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, so thank you for doing that. You can also get us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well, and take us with you wherever you go. Be sure to like our Facebook page, Get It Right Texoma on Facebook. We want to hear from you. We want your comments. We want your feedback as well. And we will see you next time with another edition of Get It Right Texoma with myself, Mike. This is Terry. That's Trey. Take care. We will see you down the road.